If Doctor Who wasn't axed in the year 1989, what would have happened? Well, a number of things would have happened which you can follow on my YouTube series, which I highly advise you to do. But in the year 2008, a spin-off would have launched called Panopticon, which would have followed on from season 41, 42 and 43 of Doctor Who, and featured Timothy Dalton as the Rogue. Sit back and watch the manipulations of the Panopticon. Series 2 of Panopticon would have aired between the 7th of February 2009 and the 14th of March 2009, with a total of 6 60-minute episodes, making up a semi-serialised, semi-episodic season. David Richardson and Mark Platt would have stayed on as producer and script editor. However, David Richardson would be leaving at the end of the series, despite the series already being renewed for a third. This would also be Julie Gardner's last outing as executive producer of Panopticon and the Doctor Who franchise as a whole. This came after she would have clashed with the script editor Mark Platt over the portrayal of Gallifrey in Panopticon. When Panopticon was created, the idea was that it would be a continuation of the Gallifrey story from Doctor Who, which Russell T Davies in collaboration with Gardner as well as Tony Redson, Stephen Garden and Ivor Stephen Bear realised. However, Russell T Davies and Julie Gardner did most of the heavy lifting in its realisation. Anyway, the realisation of Gallifrey was an extremely human one, and some would say it diminished the mystery of the show. Mark Platt was against this severe humanisation after having created such concepts as the looms, first seen in the Richard Griffiths serial Lungbarrow, and while these concepts were never thrown out the window, they were for the most part sidelined in favour of a more of a human feel. Mark Platt was not happy with the changes made to the scripts of the first series of Panopticon, which made it more like the RTD era of the Gallifrey arc. Mark Platt, however, won the argument with Gardner, and Gardner decided to leave the Doctor Who franchise after an offer from BBC Worldwide America to become the executive producer of scripted projects. Therefore, Panopticon Series 2 would have been much more alien, in a way, while still holding on to some of that feel. This series would have continued directly on from where Series 1 left off, with the Battle of Gallifrey, which we saw the lead up to at the end of Series 1. The series would continue and resolve the Bannerman arc. The main cast for the series would remain the same. Again, mostly new directors were picked for the series, with 4 of them being entirely new to the Doctor Who franchise. The same went with writers, with 3 of the slots being penned by new writers to the Doctor Who franchise. With the Bannerman ships landing on Gallifrey, the battle ensues. The people of Gallifrey and the people of the former Gallifreyan Union alike stand on its soil to defend the planet, but Arix has a plan to disrupt Gallifrey forever. This would pick up right from where Series 1 left off and would essentially be part 2 of the Series 1 finale. The first third of the episode would focus on the battle between the former Gallifreyan Union and the Bannermen, to which the Gallifreyan Union just about wins, but only scraping it. Spread through the runtime would focus on the Academy and the character of Kendra, Leader's long-lost daughter. We focus on her and her class at the Academy, and its attack and the journey through the episode and the introduction to her new characters who are Kendra's classmates. Finally, we focus on the Rogue and the Rani and the Gallifrey's war room, as they join with the leaders of the former Union worlds to form a temporary council to come together and fight the Bannermen. A Bannerman virus infects the capital, and it causes all of the Time Lords' regenerations to meld into one at the same time. Now, each Time Lord must cope struggling with all their lives at the same time while trying to stop a Bannerman invasion. This episode would offer some great comic relief after the last and would act as a comedy episode. We'd see all of the Time Lord characters being infected with a virus which causes all their regenerations to sort of mould into one, and we see them pretty much go mad as they cope with this. A window is then opened for the Bannermen to attempt a proper invasion. However, all the non-Time Lord life on the planet, for example Outsiders and Union species, come together to cure the virus and manage to capture Arix, who foolishly goes ahead to Gallifrey with a scout party thinking it would be completely disabled. When everyone is cured, the rogue interrogates Arix and finds out that a long time ago, the Keeper did something to the Bannermen, which provoked war. Many eons ago, the Keeper, during his stint as acting president, sent a secret covert mission to investigate a potential threat, the Bannermen. Why did this happen? What did he do? What were the ramifications throughout time? And why has this caused a war? This episode would entirely take place as a flashback and in the past. The only present stuff we get is this previously segment. The episode would be set between the other and the movie, therefore would feature the return of Don Warrington as the Keeper, Derek Jacobi as the Rogue, Kate O'Mara as the Rani, and Michael Gambon as the Prophet. Louise Jameson, John Leeson, John Patton, Claire Higgins and Katarina Olsson would play younger versions of their characters, and Alexander Siddig would play a younger version of Fassel from this time period, and we've partly focused on sort of an origin story, so to speak, of his. Timothy Dalton, Siobhan, Redmond, David Tennant, Christopher Biggins and Tucker Smallwood would not appear in this episode, apart from the previously segment. This episode would focus on the Keeper as acting president and how he used the Order of Rassilon to send a covert intelligence mission to the Bannermen's home world after they were deemed a possible threat. This episode mainly focused on the Keeper's political decisions and the repercussions of his actions, as well as using the Order of Rassilon. It is in fact the Rogue and the Rani who the Keeper employs to lead the mission for the first half, and for half of the episode we follow them. The intelligence mission abrogated the Bannermen, and this is why the war began in the first place. Behind the lines, Fendenau and Franks are working for Arix. However, while helping the Bannermen, Fendenau realises he is becoming what he hates, and is not fighting against unity with other planets, but fighting for it, as the Bannermen want to take over Gallifrey and make it part of their empire. This episode focuses on Fendenau and Franks as they begin working for Arix. However, Fendenau starts to realise that the Bannerman Empire is awfully similar to the Gallifreyan Union, and he decides to work against the Bannermen. We then focus on Fendenau and Franks as they plan to blow up the government building of the Bannermen, and we watch this play out. However, they are both arrested just beforehand. Fendenau breaks away and at the last minute runs into the hall of the building, and with all the politicians there, he blows himself up. There is havoc and chaos. Everything's terrible. Franks tries to escape but is held down and detained. The other half of the episode sort of focuses as a B-plot on the Panopticon, and the news of what's happened reaches them and their decision to request that Franks is transferred to them for imprisonment, as they are not happy with him, and he's a traitor to the Gallifreyan people anyway. Eventually, the Bannermen agree, and Franks is locked up for life on a mysterious prison planet, only known as Sharda. Kendra is about to enter her second year in the academy, and Will is starting his first by order of the Rogue. However, Ahelia of the Sisterhood can't stop herself from interfering and wants to micromanage Will's studies in the academy. This episode focuses on Kendra, Will, the Sisterhood and the academy. This episode takes a very different feel to the rest and feels much more like a high school comedy than a normal Panopticon episode. We focus on the character of Kendra, Will, Ahelia, and Will's entrance into the academy and his first step to becoming a Time Lord. We also explore the politics and divide between the sisterhood and the High Council. This episode also marks the first time Kendra is credited as a main character, and from now on, she'd feature as the major character in every episode. Will smuggles himself onto a freighter leaving Gallifrey in an attempt to sort out the Bannermen once and for all. They want Will, the last Shimmeron, and he wants to see the end of the fighting, but all he does is make it worse, and his trip to Arix is just a catalyst for what's to come. This episode resolves the Bannerman arc that has been going on since the beginning of the show, and finishes it in rather a brutal way. After Will chooses to try and sort out the Bannerman by handing himself over, the rogue decides this cannot be allowed to happen and threatens Arix with a chemical weapon that the Varney and the Sister of Khan had devised last season. The Bannermen believe he is bluffing and that he doesn't hold such a thing, and they don't stand down. However, the rogue's hand is pushed and the weapon is released, killing any Bannerman DNA in the quadrant. There is anarchy and chaos. It's genocide. Will is rescued, but he's unhappy with what's happened and he doesn't believe that genocide was the right thing to do, and that it was fundamentally wrong. Back in the Panopticon, we see most of the representatives agree, and they call for a vote of no confidence against the rogue. However, the Rani steps in and seizes the opportunity, calling for a coalition government with the rogue for the time being until an election can be held. The Rani's first act is to create the Alliance of Planets to try and make sure a war doesn't happen again. This includes even more planets than the former Gallifreyan Union, and even potential enemies to Gallifrey. The Rani says that it would be completely different to the Gallifreyan Union, as the Alliance would have representatives from every planet, and they would not be led by Gallifrey, but rather an elected chair voted in by every citizen of every planet that could be from any of those planets. And then the season ends, but with us pulling away from a monitor of the Rani's speech, with a voice simply saying in an alien language, subtitled underneath, interesting, and then it ends. So that's Panopticon Season 2. Hope you enjoyed it, and next time will be Doctor Who Season 46. Until then, goodbye.